All right. Looks like you guys should be able to hear me and see everything on the screen all right. So let me know on you guys' end if you can see everything okay. As always, we're going to start off the stream by going over Bitcoin. We will cover Bitcoin's weekly chart down to the micro. And we will also cover Ethereum's chart from the weekly down to the micro. The things I'll be working on during the stream after that will be up to you guys how long we stay on and what we cover, okay? So if you don't have any charts to cover, so be it. After those two, we'll get out of here. But for now, we will kick the stream off with covering Bitcoin from the macro down to the micro and also Ethereum. So if you have any questions during the stream, please do reach out, hit me up, pop them in the chat. I'll be watching the chat. As always, thank you guys for liking the stream. It makes it so more people could see it. And let's get going. Alright, sorry here. Just got to get a pinned message for us up. Some of this stuff I should probably do before you showed up. But it's okay. We have free time. Alright, popped a message there in the chat for everybody. Alright, so let's start going through Bitcoin here. I think that's going to be the most important thing, right? So that's the question you're all here to get answered. Is the bottom in for Bitcoin? Is it not in? Are we going to make a new all-time high? What is next, right? That's the question on everybody's mind. So let's go ahead and get that answered really quickly. So in my opinion, nothing has changed for our analysis. Yes, we are still looking for a wave 5 high. We are still looking for a new all-time high on Bitcoin. Now, do I think all of the altcoins are going to go to this party? No, I don't think it's going to happen, right? All right, so the thing that we need to be aware of, and I'm just going to redo it so you can see it. We did this in the Discord together recently, is that you kind of have to understand what could be going on, right? So if this is possibly a 3-wave motion in a wave 4, and that's all we're going to get towards the downside, and we can look at the micro as to why, then we can start to talk about how would we apply the math towards the move towards the upside to find what could be the target of the all-time high for this season, okay? So if we pull from 0 to 3 to the low of a 4, apply the corrective trend-based fibs, you're going to see very soon why I do this on linear. The 618 to the 786 right now is my ultimate goal, right? So we're looking at this point, if Bitcoin starts to make that move towards the upside, we will look for this wave 5 high. The other thing that we can do a lot of times, and this will be cutting through price action, so disregard that. We're using the channel or acceleration of it as kind of a resistance for the top of the channel and the center line. Let's see if we can get out of the channel and start to run some support along it and push up to that 170 all-time high target. Now, as this price action goes ahead and progresses, the next target that I really want us to be aware of along the way is 143,734 at the 0.382 extension. Okay? The other way that I really want us to be aware of this is by taking a retracement fib from this high to this low using our new style template that we use in the Discord community, and watch how price action is coming up through these to tell us what to expect. Meaning, is this a true impulse? Are we going to flip it probability back to the bulls? Right? All of this stuff can be taught to us and shown to us through these retracements, right? And I know it's hard for you to see right now because they're just colors, right? You can't necessarily see where they're attached. But let's move this guy over here so you can see it better. Actually, let's just redo it really quickly. We have that kind of time. All right, let's go from high to low. And you can see these retracements are resistances taken from a high to a low. Okay. Now, what we may have seen here and what we think we may have seen, what we've been posting in the Discord community about flipping to bullish, was an A, a B, and a C wave to the downside. Now, depending on the chart you look at, you're going to notice some charts pushed down and made this other low, some charts didn't. So I think that's what's going to throw off the majority of people. Now, for the actual 8-hour and below chart, I prefer to be on the Coinbase chart so that we can see that other low, right? And we can see why we would go with this as an ABC. We even potentially have a 5-wave motion within the C as a fucking hideous diagonal, possibly. But it truly could be just that, okay? All right, so the other thing that we could talk about is if we are building reversals, how could they be coming about, right? So this is something that I posted in the Discord last night and earlier on. And what we're noticing here is the potential for a reversal on Bitcoin, looking for strong moves towards the upside. Okay, let me readjust this. I apologize. Let's slide it off to the side so we can see what we're doing. So you're going to notice so far we've had really good interactions at the 618 and the 1 line. So because of that, this is a valid fib extension placement, right? And it was placed from 0 to the highs of 1 to the lows of 2. So I'm counting this motion as an expanded flat in 2. Once we move on from there, let me go back to logarithmic for this chart. Once we go from there, I'm looking for a wave 3 to a minimum 120,000. I'm looking for a wave 4 at that point that does not lead to overlap within the tops of wave 1 as a hard invalidation, right? So really moving forward, we don't want to see us lose, let's say, this internal fair value gap left behind, right? We really don't even want to lose the wick and investigate that gap yet. Okay, so the internal fair value gap is made by the 3 candles prior to that move. So candle number 1, candle number 2, and this dude is candle number 3. Now what we're going to notice about this is each candle is an up closure candle or a green candle on your chart. On my chart it's blue because when I see too much green I get way too stoked and just start making dumbass choices. So when we had those 3 candles, we created an internal fair value gap of liquidity that is left behind in the chart here, right? So from this wick, eventually when my magneto decides to work, to this wick, or top of that candle that was left behind, we created that gap, right? This is all liquidity that the market maker likes to investigate as we move up and down throughout this ladder. All right, so you can see we came down, stayed just above it, didn't take the liquidity and started to move again, right? So they could have a reason to come back here. I think it would be nothing but an opportunity in my opinion, because the reason that I'm looking at this is as such as an opinion, or as an opportunity, excuse me, and just as my opinion only, is that what we're seeing here is potentially classic 1-2 stacking here on Bitcoin, right? So we could be seeing this start to stack wave 1 into wave 2 in a flat, wave 1 into wave 2 in a flat. You could be seeing another wave 1 into wave 2 if this pulls back again before moving onwards, right? So for now, I'm going to stay bullishly biased on Bitcoin. Another reason that is because if you were wanting to count all of this guy as multiple 1-2 stacking coming down, and now you're like, oh, it's 3-4, 3-4. Dude, we're getting way too big to be a 4 for any of these 2s, right? So like shared early on in the Discord, I would much rather show that this is wave 1 and this complicated piece of garbage is all a wave 2, okay? That way we eliminate all the 1, 2 stacking, and we just get that simple 3, 4, and 5 of C. Okay, for me, that seems to be the way to go here. And you're looking at this as, even though it's not beautiful, some sort of diagonal of 5 down within the end of C. So what really matters most is what Bitcoin does. So since I am bullishly biased on Bitcoin, I've been watching a couple charts for opportunities and just taking them as they come to me, right? So a lot of times what we're trying to do as a spot holder is find those opportunities to get into this trend on its way up. Now, if you're looking for opportunities, the biggest thing to realize is that if this is wave 1 into 2 and you get a 3, 4, and 5, we're looking to get in to the opportunities during the pullback, right? So you can see this has been kind of like a critical level, right? A lot of price action interaction here, right? A lot of stuff has gone on in this zone, excuse all my wiggles. But lots of supports and resistances, right? So getting above this level and flipping it to support could be good. Maybe that's what you see here in your 4. And then we'll look for divergences going into that 3 and 5 in the highs, meaning we'll look for higher closures on price action or flat spots on the candle, but a lower closure on RSI. So we will stay tuned to this trend. I do think that we're definitely in a possible bullish reversal that not a ton of people are catching on to because of the way they created this low and the potential to be stacking 1s and 2s in here. So I do think they could press this up higher and quicker than the 126. And the reason I have to believe that is because of the potential 1, 2 stacking, right? So if again, that's wave 1 into 2, and you throw a sneaky 1 and 2 here and a sneaky 1 and 2 here, and this thing starts to go, you have to consider 3 4s, 3 4s, and 3 4s, and then a final 5th, right? So the chop at the bottom will also result in the chop at the top. So we'll stay tuned to this trend, and in the Discord be tracking kind of the lower time frames and opportunities. I've been sharing a lot of opportunities in the Discord over Ethereum. Anyone who's in there, I'm sure, can speak to that. I'm by no means a trade call service, but in the Discord, the biggest thing is sharing for you when the bias is flipping. So maybe you can also see like, uh-oh. And the funny thing about this bias flipping is we actually noticed this on one of our community indicators made by 34 EMA, and it gave a buy signal. And if all I would have done was stick with the Trinity ultimate buy and sell signals, I would have been okay this whole time, right? So this was the latest buy signal that we could have been holding from here on Bitcoin with our indicator from the community. Without leverage, you're up 5%, right? So I know some of us did take a leverage play on this one. So hats off to you on that. Let's go look, see if anybody has any questions over Bitcoin. And let me see, guys, if you have any altcoins that you want covered in this stream, please let me know so that I can get them covered for you. So let me go back and look through the chart, guys, and see what we have here and see if there's any altcoins that you guys want covered today. All right. Just reading through here really quick. What's up, Brian? What's up, Addie? Nice to see some familiar faces in the house. What's up? All right. And then we had your boy come in. What's up, Liam? Got the Roar community showing up in here. I haven't seen you guys in a while. How's your chart been? So Brian would really like us to cover FET, Link, and ADA. So I will have to share with you guys kind of the macro first on a lot of these charts, because after the crash, so many charts have changed, right? So a lot has changed out there. So let's just take our time and go through them. What's up, Volcom Sith? How have you been? Haven't seen you here before. Oh man, EG up in the house, dude. Yeah, the trial's definitely worth the time, and once you get a week of like live streams in the community, and you really get to see how our community is, plus you get to use all those indicators, it's a no-brainer, right? All right, let's keep looking. All right, Volcom Sith wants flare. Do you surf or skate, Volcom Sith? It's a pretty big brand here in America for the surf and skate kids. All right, next thing we got comes in from Dubai Fitness, and that's Link. I was going to get in a huge spot position. Do we see it coming back under 15? We'll cover that in a moment because Link is a tricky chart, but we will do Link for you also, Dubai Fitness. Avinashavi 471, you also got Link, so I got that one down for you. We got FARTBOY for Shaynotic. Sorry guys, hard to see the names here. My old eyes are struggling. All right, so that's one vote for FARTBOY. Camellia 8178 ask if we can take a look at hyperpigmentation. Yeah, let me write that down. And is this better seen on a DEX screener or on a trading view chart for analysis is the biggest thing. What's the chances of the leg down from the top on Bitcoin gets a partner leg is my only worry. Yeah, we'll cover that too, Addy, really quickly. Yes, Andy Lawson, I will cover FARTBOY, my dude. Oh, and you would like to see Roar. Okay, let's go take a peek at Roar and see if we got any opportunities there again. Ah, nice to know that you were surfing and shit back in the day. Nice, dude. West Coast or East Coast or what country did you surf in, man? All right, Dubai Fitness wants Algo. Let me write that down. And I know this is kind of tedious, guys, to stick around while I get all your stuff written down. But this is just the best way to make sure I don't miss anything, okay? Dude, I'm stoked to hear that I got you out of FARTBOY at the right time, Dubai Fitness. I've been doing a lot of work in the community and everything to help people understand when we should put risk on the table and take risk off the table, right? I can't give financial advice, but I will always share with you my open and honest opinion. No project owns me. No one influences my views. Just my kind of bias in investing towards whatever it is. So I try to present that to you guys in the most realistic ways. El Pasadero. You want bet. You got it, brother. Got it written down for you. Oh, what's up? Okay, Choker, I got you. Nice. Good to see you here, and thank you for supporting. We have tons of members in here, right, guys, from the community right now. So if you're not a member of the Discord community, feel open and honest. Ask them questions. And, you know, you can ask them, yo, how do you like the Discord community? Is it helpful for you? You know, do you get to make choices sooner? What have you learned? How do you like the indicators? These people are very, very open with talking to you about it. All right. So let's delete all this and talk about Addy's biggest concern. Addy's biggest concern is, what if this is the start of something, right? That should be everyone's biggest concern, right? So let's delete everything really quickly. And this is the bearish case for Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's happening, but it's just, you know, something sometimes we have to be open to. Excuse my burps. My tummy's all restless today. All right, so let's go a retracement resistance taken from high to low. And what we're going to notice here is that we are moving through these Fibonacci's really well. So I want to show you all the dances of interaction. So 0.236 was hit, still interacted with very well here. 382, nearly a 0.5, so I'm going to call it. Amazing reactions at the 0.382. What did we do right there for all my dudes in my community who know when to flip bullish, right? We built a 4-hour pin bar support off of a Fibonacci resistance, turning it into support. This was the opportunity for the bulls to take the wheel, right? And this is when I think anybody watching, this was your area to really start thinking about, whoa, dude, do I need to start getting up in some longs? Right? So here was a good opportunity also. but hindsight is 20/20 anyways. The tail bar is a big deal. Lots of interactions here at the 0.5 again and held it. This 618 to 702 is what I like to call a bullish magnet. The other thing that we have to consider about this zone is actually the internal liquidity left behind, right? So far, what have you done? This thing just dipped its tip in the liquidity. The liquidity asked, holy shit, was anybody even here? I didn't, something happened, but it was so fast, I don't even know if I felt you be here. So what we're looking at now is, do we push up into this internal fair value gap left behind and clean up some of the liquidity from the really strong pushes down? My vote is yes. Now, how this area is handled will tell us if we come back for all of that external liquidity on those highs. Because you have to understand, there is stop losses at all of these junctions, right? And not only that, but this one ended on bullish order flow at the highs, meaning it is likely to come back to there. All of these highs were ended on bullish order flow. Very strong buyers were here. So I do think we will revisit these areas. I do think my most likely probable path was 5 down in a C for now. And I'm going to go with the 1-2 stacking here for now. The other way that I guess we could try to count it if we want to be a super bear is say, you know, maybe this is W and this is X and now it's making Y to the upside. Let's use corrective extensions here from 0 to W to X. Sorry, it just takes a moment here to get all the stuff attached. In that case, you are getting, let me make sure on log, you are getting decent reactions at your most common area of interest for a Y leg, which is the 1 through 1.236. With closures going on over the one line, I would say it's most probable to push up into this 1.236. But as soon as Bitcoin breaks this would be 1.382 at 118,459, we really have to consider our other bullish alternative, right? And that was a minimum count without extension of a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Now I would like to think, because this is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 stacking like we talked about earlier in the stream, we would look for those 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4s to get us some stacking and really start busting up into these higher retracement resistances, right? All right, so that's that. All right, I got all the other. Donovan Shade says Marchand is JYOP. I don't know what that means. All right, please leave timestamps after. Yeah, dude, I will timestamp all of the tickers that you guys ask for, and so that you can get to them later. All right, Addy, it looks like you want me to cover something called Pindar. We will go find that. The next thing that I'm going to do is really quickly move into Ethereum, okay? And then we'll move into all of our altcoins. I think it's critical to look at Ethereum, and the reason why is because I do think that it is bullish, and I do think that is going to throw people off. I want you to understand that this 17% target was posted to the Discord community early on, right? So we have left that. Currently, we've only taken up about 6-point-something% of that target. That was a 17% contraction here and there, giving us a 17% technical target up. We zoom out here to the daily. We go to linear. This is what I think we're seeing here for Ethereum, is a wave 1, a wave 2, 3, a 4, and a W, an X, and a triangle and Y. It was super convoluted. The way it's consolidating and holding here, I do think the next moves for Ethereum are about up to the 5,700 range. I'm also open to a little bit of an extension. It doesn't mean it will happen, but let me just take a peek here and we can see if it makes sense. So if we go from 0 to 1 to 2, we can see easily that our wave 3 doesn't get overly extended, right? It comes to just a 1.618. Now, if it would have reached up here, I'd say no. But since it kind of didn't get a massive extension, I want to be open to the fact that you could see an extended fifth. So maybe we break my minimum target, which is 5,700, and we get up to around what we've been talking about earlier on in the cycle, which was a possibility of reaching 6,300. Ultra Omega Bulls, maybe you get the 7K in an extended fifth. But what I urge us to do at this point is to get an acceleration channel on this, because this is going to really show our growth and how things are accelerating towards the upside. So we go from the low of 2 to the low of 4 to the high of 3. At this point, look at our technical target of our triangle. It runs us into the resistance of the center line. So I think Ethereum is mega bullish, right? After a triangle and Elliott wave, we typically look for a sharp reaction out of it. You've already gave at least the breakout of the triangle. Now let's see, can we continue giving follow through in the micro scenario that I shared in the Discord last night? I said we may have a possible triple stack of 1-2s here. And the cool thing about this 1-2 that I like, a couple things, is that each 2 looks to be made in a potential kind of expanding flat style correction before running into a nice displacement with a 5-wave motion. I called this potential resistance last night in the Discord, letting folks know that we were looking for that, right? Exactly like in the chats, literal numbers, this was our resistances. I'm not going to flip over the Discord and show you that, right? Either you know or you don't know, right? You're either part of the alpha or you're not. But eventually, I hope more of you are. So after which, we're looking for these wave 3s and 4s and 3s and 4s and 3s and 4s to start to stack to the upside before a final fifth, right? And as of now, the way things are kind of going, let me get the rest of these little tickers off. When we look at this and we measure from the potential, let me get that, here it is, boom. From the low of the yellow 0 point to the high of the 3 to the low of a potential 4, that would give this yellow 5 the potential to reach up to around 4339 or 44,390. Which could still be good for Ethereum, right? So here's the best part of this, though. And this is what I would personally be waiting for. I think the best thing you can do is, let me get my path tool. I think it'll show this the best. When we get these 1s into 2s and 1s into 2s and 1s into 2s, we want to see displacement in a 4 and displacement in a 4 and displacement in a 4 and then a final fifth. Right? Let me leave this here so that we can get another separate path. And then we would look for pullbacks that come down to prior degree wave 4, a bounce to the upside in a bullish B, and then follow through in a C, right? Now, this is when you're going to be looking for massive opportunities on Ethereum, right? So I think this is when you're kind of like staying tuned in, making sure we get follow through on the trend. An investor who wants to reduce their risk and make safer decisions really wants to allow even this to play out. Or the other thing they're trying to do is they're looking to add to their spot Ethereum bags here, right? If they didn't add here, oh well. You can let it move up in 5 and back in 3. Up in 5, back in 3. Up in 5, back in 3. Massive opportunity for your Ethereum spot holdings and potentially maybe a lever play, depending on how we see this move to the upside made, right? So we'll have to stay tuned on Ethereum. As always, I will keep this lower time frame stuff really updated in the community. So as always, come by there, check it out, dude. Pin is up at the top. You can see the week trial shit. It's for the Discord. Come hit it up. We got 11 likes. Thank you guys, dude. That's really big. I love seeing you all here. I'm still on holiday break, and I leave for Mexico actually soon, Liam, or Millsy. So yeah, I wanted to do this stream even though I'm still on holiday. But I think it's important to keep people updated regardless of what I have going on, right? You guys are the priority. So I need you guys to understand when the trend is flipping back to bullish and what we have going on, right? So, and I do just that, right? We nailed it in the Discord. We knew when it was turning around. We were on it, nailing it. Boom. We were all over it. So let's start moving into the altcoins and keep this thing going. All right, let me write down a few more altcoins that you guys had. It looks like RUNE. This is for DN. What is up, DN? How have you been, dude? You busting any of that moose meat yet? You also want near and virtual, my dude. Is the liquidity in the room with us now? That's funny. All right, so we covered. Bam, bam, bam. For Bitcoin, game is on then. Haha, asking him, is he online? I don't know if who's online, Donovan. I don't even know who that person is, dude. Marshawn? I don't know who that is. Render is also something Dubai Fitness wants covered, so let's do that. Man, you got all kinds of coins, my dude. You must be holding on to some big bags. All right. Oh, okay. Pindar was not a coin. Got it. SUI for Dubai Fitness. Man, you come in with all the coins, my dude. You should come check out the Discord. I think you would like the updates that are in there over SUI. I'm not going to share my other analysts' technical analysis here in my live stream because it's not fair to them. But know that we have someone sharing some really juicy SUI technical analysis in the Discord. So come check that out. I'll share my opinion, but theirs is much better than mine. or I should say more bullish. All right. ICP. You got it, Donovan. All right. Dude's going to be watching tonight. Later, Brian. You're a real OG. Brian's always here, man. All right. Here we go. All right. So let's move on to FET. As always, guys, hit up the like button, share the stream with your friends. It really helps everything get seen, you know. If it's something that you're enjoying or you think others would enjoy, do share, you know. All right, let's keep rolling here. So I think that ye old fettuccine is making a decent reversal. The thing that you should notice about FET compared to a lot of charts that we're seeing out there is this new low made with a divergence, right? So when we look at the RSI, we can see that even though the price action secured a closure, a lower closure, a lower closure, the RSI secured a higher closure, right? So when we see these type of things, we're looking for a reversal. The other thing we typically like to see to say this is a reversal would be that the volume is petering off of the sellers as it went into the new lows, right? So you do kind of see volume went down here, even from this point. You kind of have a little bit of a reduction. You can also see volume rose, and overall, I would say the red really kind of petered off hard. So I would say on SUI, I'm looking for a potential reversal. Now, how far will that go? Let's go to a weekly, and this is where you lose me, okay? This is where Fettuccine Alfredo loses me. It becomes just another shit coin. So my largest concern is this is a three-wave motion towards the upside, right? And the reason I say that is because I do not think it's 1-2 stacking, because the secondary motion is larger, right? So I have to side with an ABC to the upside. We got an exact hit to our corrective trend-based fib extensions that I share with you in the Discord community of 1 through 1.382, right? And it just dances with them beautifully. Look at this reaction here. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. rejects off the one line resistance with flat closures, comes down hard, right? So in my opinion, and opinions are like assholes, we all have them and they all stink, I have to go with this being just an ABC towards the upside. Even if you want to end the B here, I don't give a shit what you do. You can end it wherever you want. I think that this was just an ABC towards the upside. And again, an A, B, C towards the downside. That is just the start of something. And you are waiting for an A, a B, and flip this in a C. And then this is when shit gets heavy. I just settled all my lawsuits. Fuck you, Debbie. I think that's when you make this next move in a Y that takes out this external liquidity and moves into the internal liquidity left behind on ye old fettuccine Alfredo. So all of this technically is untouched money, right? So if you're playing this, you are playing it for a hopeful bounce, right? Now, let's say FET kept coming to the downside. When would it invalidate this as an expanded B? That's a great question you ask. If it hits this 1.618, right? So this way, you have a risk management point for your spot bags, right? Because you know, if I lose this, oh shit, right? So technically, I would say all your bulls out there really don't want to see it lose this exact bounce off of the 1.382 expanded B wave template, right? We want to see it bounce off that and keep this as a low. So in my opinion, this should be like your oh shit meter, right? If we lose that low, you're fucking cleaning shop. You're ready to go. All right. Now the thing is, on the lower time frames, you can get me to start to like want to be bullish on this, right? But I do struggle slightly because of the internal counts, and we'll see that really soon. This is not my favorite thing to see. We have seen a lot of stuff like this in the charts lately. And sometimes I think we just have to write it off. Now, because of this three-wave high made on FET, I would like to say this is a flat style correction in an ABC to correct all of this, okay? And when I say all of that, what I'm meaning is I think this is a wave 1 into a wave 2, right? Oops, we're just going to do that for now because it doesn't matter. Fuck it. And this is another wave 1 into a wave 2 at some point. If it's not already in, we'll have to wait and see. I would like for it to be all the way in, but what I like and what I get are two different things in life sometimes. But in my opinion, and it's something that I really hope you're also noticing. Let's take a peek here. Look at this hidden bull divergence on the RSI, right? It's absolutely beautiful. And what we're seeing here is higher price action closures on RSI, on price action, but not on RSI, right? RSI really resets itself and says, yo, man, I'm trying to make a biz ounce, right? I'm going to come up on you. I'm bouncing up. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I can't say you won't get another leg down. But this is really invalidation here at these lows around 0.2541 for the 1-2 stacking. Okay, so I would say locally, if you're a bull and you're wanting to go with this 1-2 stacking like I have on my chart, let me get rid of some more of this jazzaroo. We took away too much. All right. Then what you have to tell yourself is, where do I have invalidation? Currently, that's here. The other thing is, we could also say this is the size of the previous degree wave 2. We would like to not see this successive degree wave 2 be larger than the first degree wave 2, right? That's kind of like an invalidation point. And you can see that it didn't do that because it didn't lose the one line. And it gave hidden bull divergence at the time. So I think, honestly, to keep myself kind of like mitigating risk on FET, I would really like to not see 0.2648 lost. And what we would really like to see as a 1-2 stacking then is successive follow through. And by that, we're meaning some sort of displacement. So if we go from 0 to 1 to 2 currently, we're looking for a strong move after this, right? And a yellow 3. And I'm not trying to get you super bullish. I'm just trying to get you a little bullish, right? Because everybody is super bearish. Everybody's like, oh, this shit's crashing. Everybody's going to die. But the thing is, I don't believe that, right? I do think all-time high is not in on Bitcoin. I do think some of these altcoins are going to get that leg to the upside. The problem is, it's like how high, right? How high is this going to get? And we'll have to wait and kind of suss this out as it comes. But I would say even waiting, you know, as like we talked about earlier, a buyer in a market is looking to mitigate risk to the downside. And the biggest way to do that is to let a structure like this form and then buy into a big 3-wave pullback that comes into those zones of displacement that are going to be made by this correction towards the upside, okay? That means this area of interest will likely get revisited. So you buying into the trend now, you have to realize you're trying to sell out into these divergences and into these highs, which is likely because you're coming back into internal fair value gaps and the liquidity left behind, right? So it's all a game. And you're just trying to play this game so you can make some money, all right? So that's FET. Let's keep the party going. And let's move on to Chainlink. You might not like what I have to say on Chainlink, but that's okay. I am really beginning to struggle with how to keep Chainlink bullish, okay? Let's go to log. My dog even sighed. My dog sighed when I sighed. That was funny. All right, so let's delete everything. The only thing that makes me bullish at all on Chainlink is this, like, this potential that this is a 5-wave motion towards the upside. And we're waiting on this next leg to the upside, right? Which would be a partner leg of this leg. Now, this is where it gets tricky. So because after that 5-wave high, we make a 3-wave move down, which I can kind of defend a couple different ways. But for now, I'm going to say, you know, what if this is an A and this move up is a B and this move down is a C, right? That could potentially still be bullish for Chainlink. But then I run into like, okay, well, how can I get going from this low then, right? How can I start from there? Only in a couple ways. One is a classic impulse, means the displacement between these legs, divergence, and a pullback. And then we look for holy crap bull mode, right? The other way is that you get maybe some sort of hideous diagonal that has overlap between that, and then a really deep pullback. But the problem is, after a diagonal, you typically look for a 786 pullback. Now, everybody says diagonals are rare. Lately, it has seemed like the rare thing is the thing that happens. So now, if Chainlink were able to hold this region, maybe we see more. But my fear is a 3-wave bounce that comes down and scares everybody and makes them think we're going to start taking out all this external. All of these are external, like This is amazing. External liquidity, they cleaned that one. Here, here, right? Here, here, and here. So these are all points where people are just riding a trade from, right? The market maker could come for that position. So that's liquidity. So how we interact at, like we did already, this internal fair value gap left behind, this is just a rough drawing. You can see we wicked into it and bounced. What happens next is huge. Now, this is where I think it gets hopeful. So if we want to start to kind of fib about, you're either going to have to lie and say that was all wave 1 and this is its wave 2, or maybe wave 2 is still going on. That would be my biggest fear. So if this is 3 waves, I don't like it so much, but maybe 3 waves in W, maybe 3 waves in X, and then you make some sort of hideous Y here, which the problem is then a Y can be made in a triangle, but I would say this isn't a very good start of a first leg of a triangle. Triangles are typically zigzags, so like this. This looks nothing like that, right? So that's the main issue here. Another way that you could make a Y leg would be an A and a B that comes up to at least 90%, if not expands, and then drops down in a C leg to make the Y leg. And even then it doesn't have to take this liquidity. So that could be how Chainlink gets kind of like a local move up. I would say currently to make that Y leg, you're looking for that 888, 90% retracement. That's around 2608, 26 not 08. If not, an expansion, I bet pretty close to what we just hand drew. Get us into this 1.236 to 1.382. Excuse me, my tummy is very upset this morning. Too much hot sauce trying to get ready for Mexico. So if this is ABC, that could be great. I think the biggest issue here then would likely be, I would then have to lean towards this being an A and all this being a B and then give a C, right? And the reason why is because if the time is measured from 0 to 5, and at any point the correction goes past a 2 in length, which this already has, it's highly likely to be a wave B and not a wave 2. Yes, this still results in some bullish activity, but it might not be as zesty as you want it to be. And after that, later on, we can attach some fib points to look for an estimation in time of when that leg to the upside would occur. The biggest concern then, in my opinion, would be that this is just an A and this is making a B wave to the upside, and then Chainlink gets a very scary C wave on a macro. Okay? This chart has a lot of potential possibilities here. And I think a lot of people's main question would be, okay, well, what about my local investments? I sigh because this is an incredibly hard chart. Even from a daily perspective, this really sold itself better as a 3-wave motion than anything else. Because of that, you know, it is likely to come take this liquidity as the most popular thing to do, and that could even come from this being a 1-2 stacking to the downside. If that's true, I would say you would see Chainlink sweep this most Ricky tick and start with some kind of displacements here like this. So that all of this chip chop wedging in would end up in some chip chop wedging out megaphonies. So that's what I would look for. But locally, dude, besides a super subjective arcing here that we're seeing, showing that Chainlink is bullishly trying to hold against the odds of everybody trying to push it down, that's all I can come up with. Because do you see how 3 wavy this is? And how 3 wavy this is? And how 3 wavy this is? How 3 wavy this is? Now, because of that, maybe you can lie to yourself and say, okay, maybe this was maybe this was a 3-wave motion down and an A, B, C, D, E triangle, and that compression should start to lead to some expansion. If so, that means really, you know, it's like, dude, this thing has to go fucking now. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, Jamie? Good thing we're covering Link, buddy. You're here for it. So, in my opinion, then, what you're looking for is this is hard invalidation for your Link spot holdings in that scenario, which is likely the only bullish one I can find. Outside of those, I would look for it to sweep liquidity and go for lows. So if we're wanting to be bulls, this shit needs to go now. Did this make a new high is the hardest thing. Let's see, 1810. Yep. All right, so we can bullshit this. It's not beautiful. Very short correction. Very ugly. Very ugly. I can't say that enough. I'll go back and fix that. If this were a diagonal, this fucking hideous thing, and even we might be able to lie and put it like this and say, you know, this is somehow, fuck, it's hideous. Let's see if we can lie on the hourly. This is horrible. Ugh. It'd be so hard to say. But if you somehow can make this wedging be a diagonal, even if you had to say this was the correction to make it kind of better, you could get behind this being some 1-2 stacking, because this is a nice 5 waves. This is a nice 5 waves. This looks like the first something down. Maybe you get another motion, but that wouldn't make sense because then you'd have a giant 2 here. This 2 would be bigger than that 2, so that wouldn't make sense. So far, the hourly is really hard to say that it's for sure going to reverse. What I do like for the odds of taking this high is 2 things. If we put a retracement from high to low, you retrace around that 90% retracement, right? Boom, past the 888, around the 90% retracement. You also end on bullish order flow or green candles over here, making it more than probable to revisit that area of liquidity. So because of those things, I would say it's likely to take the high. The other thing that I like for possibility of taking the high is that this is a 3-wave motion down and a 3-wave motion up, meaning that high is likely not the high that's going to stay, right? Usually after you hit this 90% zone, you fall back to the 618 area of the same measure and look for a bounce. Where's this new style? And that came to that. So after that, if this can hold, meaning if 1823 can hold, it's highly probable to get new highs that move to 1.236 to 1.382, meaning that Chainlink gets up here to start retesting the $20 range again, right? That's how this could get bullish. Now, add a little bit of math here and hope. Fuck, it's ugly. Sorry for my foul language. But I think that's how you would minimum get up here and start getting people to go nuts, right? All right, let's keep pushing. The next thing was ADA. This is another chart that's very hard. Another one that's very risky, right? Because I think if you're wrong, the risk of downside could get you into some trouble. And the reason why I say that is because on the daily, what we made right here looks to be a 5-wave motion, but that it's the end of something, and that this could potentially be an ABC, even though I think it is expanded. So this was a low of 0.51 and a low of 0.5107, 0.5101. So newer low. Let me check another chart just in case. That's not helpful. When the chart does this, I quit using that chart, but I do want to check it for just these two lows here and see if this was a new low also. All right, a low of 0.51 flat and a low of 0.51. Okay, so this was a lower low there also. So we're gonna stick with the Coinbase chart to not have that big fucking fuck you wick in the middle. Let's go to a weekly really quickly. Ugh. So this is kind of going to be the same scenario that we talked about on FET, I believe it was the potential of a 3-wave motion up was all that was achieved. Because of that, it makes it really hard for me to want to stay bullish on this. It leads it to probability of taking this zone out, right? I think the risk of downside outweighs upside for me on this one. So I kind of have to move away from it, right? So I'm going to keep moving. Flare is the next thing that somebody wanted to look at. I no longer own this. If you were in the Discord community, I made sure everybody knows when I sell shit. I obviously don't give financial advice. I'm just sharing like we would if you were in like a gamer chat room, right? Like, I fucking sold my games. Well, sold my crypto before this big crash. It saved my ass. So anyways, I don't own any more of this. Nothing about the chart is trying to prove to me I should come back yet. I find it really hard to get behind something other than trying to say a fucked up diagonal off this low, which is not my favorite. So even that is like, okay, if this is the diagonal, I have a long ways to go to sell off to 78.6%, meaning that you're likely going to end up with some hideous move, right? Even then. So I am not interested in this coin. It's not showing a bullish reversal of any perspective. And by bullish reversal, everyone knows this, right? That means we're looking for that on any time frame. Right? No signs of life. This is grandma's dead. It's over. She's just right? So let this go for now. If it can come back to life and start to move with some displacement and then range and then make another high, fucking so be it. Then we buy the displacement when it comes back for a check. Until then, this is a leave behind. All right, let's move into Flare. Man, I am feeling stoked to be here today. Thank you guys all for coming by the stream. We have so many coins left. I'm sorry that I go so slow. I really like to try to cover as much as I can, meaning giving you my opinion from a larger perspective down to a smaller. All right, so we had a couple more people come in. It looks like Joku. I think it's how you say your name, Joku 433. What kind of car you got there, man? You asked about ENA. Let me write that down. We will get that done for you, my friend. I haven't looked at that in a couple streams, I don't think. Apex, I have FARTBOY for you and like 5 people, and it is our next chart. If possible, Apex, share the stream with your friends. Let them know that we're going to cover FARTBOY live right now, okay? Get everybody in here. Let's hit it hard from the yard. Let's get it done. I think we can make FARTBOY look decent for a little local bounce. and we'll move on after that. After FARTBOY, these are my charts listed. Let me know if I've missed any of your charts. These are our upcoming chart requests. We have FARTBOY, Hyperpigmentation, Roar, Algo, Vet, Rune, Near, Virtual, Render, SUI, ICP, ENA so far. Okay? So you guys, I'm going to keep on rolling. Hitch people up. Let them know we're getting it done. We're going to roll into FARTBOY for now. All right. So the way that this thing is just sitting here, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get a move to kind of clear out this bullshitty looking range, right? I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get some sort of dip that comes down to a 0.1851. Okay? After that, we can talk more. But even right now, this is the thing that people have to understand. We talk about in every stream, but I think it's hypercritical. Is that off of the low or inception point, you only make a 3-wave motion, right? And then you have a horrible 3-wave correction. And then another 3-wave motion, right? Now, I don't care which best friend tells you on the internet. It's not bullish. It's not even a little bullish, right? It was for sure a 3-3-3 structure in a WXY, okay? I would say the only part about this that goes against the WXY theory a little bit is, never mind. We're not going to cover it. It's too much. All right, anyways. So after a WXY, the most common thing to see is a retracement to that 90% that we keep talking about, right? We're not there. So that's what I mean by that next push of liquidity, right? So in my opinion, if I was looking to make a very risky knife catch on FARTBOY, I would look to buy that drop to 0.1857, right? That might be my first dollar cost average. After which I would sit on my hands and not buy again until I saw at least 0.1512, right? And I wouldn't buy there. I would be patient, because if it misses that next zone, the most probable area of interest for FARTBOY to come to after that would be the 0.01194 to 0.00992 at the 1.236 to 1.382 retracement expansion support level. So I will say this is a hideous construction to the downside. And as noted earlier on my Twitter, I was telling you the big thing to pay attention is locally we are starting to get divergences, right? But people on the internet said, you're a clown, right? I didn't say bye, asshole. I'm just telling you there's divergences, right? So there's a divergence. It's a regular divergence. And this is on a daily. So you have lower closures and higher closures on the RSI. The other thing here is this pivot of the RSI. So you have higher closures, meaning this low of these closures, the flat spot, and lower closures on the RSI. So you have hidden bull divergence with regular bull divergence. Yeah? So the thing is, when we start to get these, this is typically where we start to kind of look for a reversal, right? The other thing here is we have a decent amount of sellers were still involved. Let's see where we end today. Do we get a sell-off and that wick gets caught and we get some closures down a little lower? We'll see. But for now, I think the best thing to do is just stay watching, stay waiting, because ultimately what you're hoping for is that this is a WXY and an A wave. And this whole thing that we're talking about right now makes a B leg or an X leg. Never mind. It will only be a B wave because you should have a subwave count of your A as a WXY, but not of your W. So this is where I think market will kind of make people super bullish on FARTBOY. And this is why I prefer if they make a new low, right? That I would like that best, because then we would get this 5 wave to the upside and everybody would say that is the start of the bull run for FARTBOY, right? I think they might even still say it based upon here without a fresh low, because I think the average person doesn't understand Elliott wave. So I think they might not understand how inception points are formed, and they might see that 5 wave up and be like, oh my God, it's happening. So, all right, that's all my analysis for FARTBOY. Let's keep on rolling. Let's see, my friends, I'm going to look for hyperpigmentation. We're going to go to a DAX screener. All right. Let's see if it's on my recent list. You guys usually ask for kind of a couple of the same ones. Is it this hyper? You'll have to let me know. I don't think it is what you want. Let me type in the whole thing here. It's so hard to find some of these. Let's go to this one. I think this is what you want. This looks to have a better liquidity pool. Not a lot of volume right now. 95K is not very impressive. Wow, this thing took a proper fucking fall down the stairs, didn't it? All right. Whew. Man. Nice low, though. This is a good low. Let's go back to log scale. I know we talked about it taking a potential drop, but boy, I did not fucking think it was going to look like that. All right. This is why, you know, when people are getting super bullish and they start to ask a lot of shitcoin, you got to understand that means the market is primed for a fall. I would like to measure my support here, but that means we never reach minimum. Even this means we never really reached minimum. Nice RSI divergence, though. You can see how far we reset this RSI with very little price action reset. What's up, Dunk? How are you? Camilla, are you referring to a W bottom, or that we're going to get a win here soon on FARTBOY when we catch that bounce? Because in the community, we can keep that micro updated. So keep reminding me in there, and I'll keep it going so that we can catch it good. We've made a couple good 100% bounces on FARTBOY, actually. All right. I think this is the hyper that you want. So let's see. So far, because of this atrocity of wicks, in displacement, what I'm going to have to go with is that this potential is the start of something, of an inner leg. I would like to have to say that this is a 1 into 2, maybe another 1 into 2, another 1 into 2, and this is all like some wedging structure, and we'll see this up here at the top also. But I think the best thing that we can do in these situations is when we have this chopping and a displacement, we should look for that displacement at the highs and then a final high. And we would like to see a really good divergence here. Meaning when this kind of chip chop bullshit starts, we'll often see this RSI really resetting itself. And then it will come up, and then we'll have a nice divergence here, and we'll look for that reset. That would be the opportunity, right, to get back into this trend if we get validation, right? But that's a 4-hour chart. So let's keep just pumping the brakes and waiting to buy on this one, because again, investing isn't about seeing how fucking fast we can spend our money. It's about seeing how long we can preserve our money. I think would be a better key phrase. So this one's on my just let it go list, as the gals who love Frozen would say. All right, the next one is Roar. Where are you? Kitty. Let's see how it did. Oh, Roar Kitty. Man, this son of a bitch can't keep it down. This motherfucker is too strong. So I am highly, highly impressed by this project lately. It is hard to speculate on what we have seen from this because of this kind of inception here. Because of how long this timing correction was and that it starts with 3 down, I do think the more probable thing to see for Roar would be to take those highs. Let's just double check that we did or didn't. This high was 0.01515. All right, so this is the true high. So because of that, and it ends on bullish order flow, as you can see, with a 3-wave move down after, and I would say fucking hideous 3-wave motion up. Hopefully this is a 3-wave motion down. Maybe this isn't over yet. Maybe Roar gets some sort of ABC. This would then become, you know, a W and an X that retraces high. So at that point, I would look for a good Y leg. So still a potential for a sell-off here. I think the biggest thing that we got to be aware of is where would be kind of that ultimate support, right? So we're just bobbing around here at the 0.236 like a dead fish. We need to either start to show real displacement, meaning that this leg will get a partner leg. Now, I do want you to be aware of that, is that the most common thing for a project to do would be to give this a partner leg, right? I'm not going to try to read off what percentage gain that was to you because it was fucking phenomenal. So it's unrealistic. It's huge. Maybe when you do this, you should consider linear. This way it keeps you kind of fucking level-headed. When you go to linear, it makes it almost easier to be bullish on this chart. Do you see what I mean? You can it kind of even will change your perspective slightly, I think, right? It almost makes me want to say, this is 3 waves up, right? And this is 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and either 3 waves down is finished, right? We can't see it, or we still get it. But it's ultimately just fucking Rangetown, USA, right? This is the middle of the range. So if I, which I'm not an owner of any of this, wanted to be, I would be playing this as just a range, right? So from here to here. It's more probable to return to the center of the range. But what I want you to be aware of was that at each of these lows, they left liquidity at the range lows, right? So this one didn't take out the prior, and these didn't take out that prior, right? So it's liquidity waiting to be taken. Now this is the center of the range. So one could buy here to try to sell the bounce to the center. And they could even use fibs on this candle, or ultimate range would be what I would like to do best, would be from high to low. And you could look and see, dude, do I make it back to that 50% of the range? Do I push up to the golden pocket of that range? Like, what's going to happen here? You could see that it's been amazing reactions all around. So the gain here, risk to reward, is what you're probably asking yourself, is a gain of 64% to a risk of 61%. So horrible 1-to-1 ratio. The other thing you would have to do then is if you really wanted to buy and speculate, you got to find a low that's going to be your low. And maybe this is it, right? So if that's what you're into, you can still get away with it, right? You know, this is 236. All right, so this would also take you into what would be the liquidity from the move down of the internal fair value gap. That 50% of that gap aligns with your 50% of your macro range, meaning that we could at least reduce our risk to reward ratio here, right? So if we entered a position here, you would mitigate risk if you lose a 20% and your gain is a 60%. So you have a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which means that typically a trader who does that, even if their win rate was as poor as 35%, they could potentially still have profitable trades, right? So, and that aligns with our internal fair value gap left behind. So I think, you know, why not toss a dart? Just know for every 100 you put in, you lose 20. I'm not a financial advisor. Everything I say is just jibber jabber from a dude in a bathrobe sitting in his office, drinking too much coffee, bullshitting with his friends on the internet, right? So let's see what happens. But I think a move to that area could be on the table. All right. Let's keep the party going. I need some fucking water, man. My mouth is dry as shit. 1 second, let me get a drink. All right. My whole family's home, so it's going nuts out there. They're like play fighting in the living room. All right, so the next couple of things that we have here is going to be ALGO as the next chart, then VET, then RUNE. So let's go back. So we're going to do ALGO. Man, what a fucking ugly chart. So, God, they all look like this. I hope your eyes are starting to see this, but this is a three-wave motion that ends on high volume with fucking bastards. They barely nipped it. All right, so this is a project that I haven't been super into for a long time. So to me, Algorand looks like a three-wave motion, right? And a three-wave motion. Anytime there's a three-wave motion to the upside, we look for those lows to be taken. Those lows to be taken. Subjectively, this is starting to really arc to the downside, meaning I would look for displacement possibly. That's my biggest concern here, right? And that is kind of rolls back into the question that Addy asked early on. Can Bitcoin from the top begin to make a bearish movement, right? And that's kind of like the theme of today is, right, what if this 5 was the move down? And this is a three-wave motion up that just tickled the tip of the internal liquidity, right? So this is a little different than what we were looking at, but on the daily. So let's stay mellow. Let's see how today's daily closure happens, and start to really pay attention even to the 8-hour. Like we talked about, you start to lose this area of liquidity and this internal fair value gap here around 112 down to 111.8. You could be flipping bearish, right? This could then be a three-wave motion up in that WXY scenario that we talked versus 1-2 stacking that we talked also, okay? And this is where a lot of those alts like Algorand, like Chainlink, like ADA, they could get punished really hard. I think the only alt that I'm trying to track with a high probability bullish structure so far that we found was Ethereum. right? That I really like, right? All right, let's move on. The next coin is VeChain, Chinese cryptocurrency. Where's she at? Blech. This thing is fucking hideous. Ugh, we have to use Binance too, I think. Let's see what we got here. As always, big fucking shitstorm. Oh, why? Well, that would be your biggest concern. A three-wave motion. The secondary concern would be that then this becomes 1 into 2, and we start to really sell off to the downside. I'm not big on this coin. Anyone who has been around me a little bit knows I'm not big on it. I don't like that we have found the weekly bull control zone, 50 EMA, 50 level of the RSI as resistance. We are starting to make some of that subjective arcing to the downside that often leads to displacement. So do be aware, right? There's always a bullish and a bearish scenario. If a lot of your alts are telling you, I could fucking have to drop down and grab my socks, well, then you better buckle up, right? Look at how you're going to mitigate risk. Go to those time frames, look for those pivots. By pivots, we mean, you know, if something was marching up the stairs, if it breaks structure and starts to go, man, you're going into no man's land, right? You're looking back here at prior support and be like, how is this going to be handled? Wow, I bounced from there. Okay, what happens if I lose that? I have an imbalance. Whoa, not good. Then what? Last juncture, last hold, right? So this one, I'm not a big buyer of this thing. I don't really care for it, right? So I'm going to move on. Especially Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America. Do you think he's like, yo, man, let's get some Chinese cryptocurrencies? All he does is fight with that dude the majority of the time. And it's like, shit's causing enough problems with the markets. All right, let's go to RUNE. Let me get a sip of something here. I can only imagine this chart got destroyed in the dump. Motherfucker. I don't think this is a difficult chart. I think this might, I don't know if this is the longest history for it. Come on, computer. Good news. You didn't make the 1.618 down here, right? And then you have a three-wave motion and then start to come down. The same worrying that I have is this arcing to the downside, right? This wedging, constricting often leads to displacement and then more wedging and then another move. I don't really like this chart. Nothing about it really gets me going. Let's go to a super low time frame. Even this, look at this. So on the daily, the low is made and then we just chop, 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 right? It's not giving you a reason yet from what I can see, right? If you would want to do something like what we kind of did on another chart, you have to start to see that 5-wave motion here, right? Meaning you need something like this to come in, and then we need a pullback into this displacing area in a 3-wave motion. If that can hold, then you likely have this trade, right? And after that trade, you look for what? Another range that will likely be the same size as this, but alter in its structure. And then you'll get one more leg to the upside, and then possible buy-in later. But the biggest thing is you're going to look for those divergences coming in at this point. You can really see this is something that you need to be keying into on your RSI and volume. If this is, like drawn, a three-wave motion that ends on high volume with what we see as what? Hidden bear divergence, meaning higher highs on RSI, but not on price action closure. The actual flats of the candles, you can see we're fucking way above it. Even way above here, way back here. So hidden bear divergence is a son of a bitch. So for me, Rune, you can do better. For now, set some alarms, come back later. Let me know if something pops up. It starts to make the structures we talked about. But until then, I would put it on the let it go list. Let me plug in my laptop here. I apologize. This stuff is all over the place. 1 second here. I don't want the thing to die on me. And where's everybody coming to the stream from today? What country do you come from? England, America, France? All right, we have 12 people in here, dude. Thanks for coming to the stream. All right, so we did Rune. Now, the last thing we needed to look at was near. Sorry, let me get my keyboard back. Hopefully the near chart on USD is okay. Look at this. Bang. Sometimes you lose. Here's another example of a three-wave motion with a cranked up RSI. Do you see this? Now, again, I am not a financial advisor. But if that is a WXY, I would like to bet you are going to get a partner leg to the downside of this guy, right? So somewhere down in here. So this isn't something that I'm very eager to look into. It doesn't look amazing. The main reason why is because this low was never taken, and then we start to make moves to the upside, right? And I don't have some larger degree macro bias that I can look into like we had on Ethereum and like we had on Bitcoin, right? Here on near, we don't get that. So it's not my favorite, right? Even early on, let's delete all the shit. You can see from here, there's no real impulse, right? It never really gets going. It sure does do this though and end on a 5-wave motion. So the largest concern would be that could have been the end of the motion there, right? And now you're starting motions to the downside. Let's go to a larger degree time frames here. I think, you know, your only hope is somehow starting to hold these, but it sure looks 3 waves up, 3 waves down. My biggest, I think your real hope here, no, that would concern me. I guess you could try, I'm not into the lower time frames. Diagonals are supposed to be rare, but if that's 1 into 2 with a deep retrace after, or an A into a B, how could I make this end here? I guess you would have to say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. So you'd have to say this is A, B. That would mean that this gets taken eventually, these highs. And then this would be a C. That means you kind of have invalidation here, at least for a hopeful at least partner leg to the upside, because If this is 3 down and you make only 3 up and then have another rejection, so be it, right? But I think sooner than later we'll see, does it make just a 3-wave correction upwards or an impulse, right? So far we've seen no displacement, no real signs of life. I think the only real notable thing we can see right now is lower weekly closures on the candle, higher weekly closures on the RSI. So you had a weekly bull divergence of the regular variety on the RSI, and you begin to make a motion upward. Now, so far, this is hard to sell as anything but a 3-wave motion. You know, I would be hard-pressed to make that a diagonal for right now until it proves itself to us. And even look at Bitcoin. Look what it's doing now. A little fall back. We talked about how you could look for opportunities here. And I think we might walk ourselves into one. I won't try to waste too much of our time here on a Bitcoin live stream trying to catch a bottom, but I think we might get to. Let me see what this is. Okay, sorry, I got a spaghetti mess here to work through. All right, then we need this. This. All right, I think this is where I would look for something. Let's see what'll happen. We'll let this cook while we keep going. And then we'll do this. Sorry guys, this trading is not exciting, but I'm looking to try to get myself into a long here possibly, and I'll take a stop loss. I'll put the little risk on the table, but even in that Y, let's see if I can tickle 118. It gives me a good R to R setup. That's a pretty big risk to reward ratio, so it might be a little bullshitty. But let's see. Let's see what this does. I think we might give a little pitch down. Looking for around a 113.832. So let's see what happens. All right, let's keep going. The next thing is virtual. I have not looked at this in a while. I think this must be for DN. DN asks me all the time about the virtual. All right, let's go look. This is our Bitcoin trade I deal with. Let's see. Here's why I think it might bounce before then, but we'll see. Pretty good RSI resetting already here on the hourly. I also kind of am digging this kind of like overall trying to come up a volume. I would really like to see the green volume overall start rising. We haven't seen that yet. Maybe so. After this pullback, maybe some buyers will step in, but let's see. Could create a good long. I think the bias right now is generally to short the market. So, all right, let's go look at virtual. I apologize. I get sidetracked often. I will talk you guys' ear off all day. How many people we got in here? 11, dude. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming to the stream. I really enjoy doing these. I kicked the dog out that snores so that you guys didn't have to listen to that. Oh man, yeah, okay, yeah, I got the right hyper, Camilla. Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking, to look into that FARTBOY retracement as a possible, like I talked about earlier in the stream, the ways we would try to buy into that. And I'll also keep bugging me in the Discord because I'll forget to update it often. My life gets too busy. But the more you ask, the more I get it done. Or one of us will for sure. Bop, bop, bop. All right, let's keep on going. All right, the next coin was virtual. Let's go back to that. Sorry, this Chat gets me sidebarred. Oh, fucking shit, man. All right, so. What is it doing? I will say, subjectively, this looks like a three-wave motion. For right now, what a pretty chart. For right now, that's what I'm going to go with. Now, is this the best chart that we can look at? Because, motherfucker, that is a horrible bounce dip to watch. To try to chart, you know what I mean? Like, we're charting, that's a hell of a wick, boys. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Man, fuck off. This ruins it. Some wedging and closing it. Ooh. There's really not a lot we can do when it looks like this, man. Because you can't get a lot out of this wick other than hope, right? I would hate to say, and this is super high hopes, would be 1, and maybe all of that's 2, and now you're starting to go. But even then, I would imagine you would have to say, you know, this is a wave 1 into 2 here. The problem is you're nowhere near what you need, meaning a 1.618. Oh, you piece of monkey. Crap on the wall. Alright, we go from low to high to low. So you can see we're interacting with the gateway drug pretty good. I would be more biased to say this instead. Like if you really wanted me to be bullish, I would have to say this is a wave 1 into a wave 2. And this is a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of wave 1 into wave 2. And then 3, 4, 5. This would then be, I'm just going to add these onto here. This is going to be pretty cluttered. But this is kind of like the roadmap that we really need to see for virtual. I imagine this is DN asking again. To kind of add some sort of high probability to this. What I do want you to, man, I got so much shit on here. This is important to note, this massive rise in volume, and that it's displacing with a better 5-wave motion. So if this is 1, 2, 1, 2, happy days. But the thing to remember is your first 1, 2 didn't retrace very deeply. So it's highly probable the secondary degree wave 2 will likely only retrace to a 0.236 also. Let's see if it's better on linear. Oh, that's way juicier. All right, so on linear, you can see this. 3 down, fucked up, maybe 3 up, 3 down. Just so that we can not add too many more 1-2s into this. I really don't want a lot of 1-2s. Even though you could try to bullshit and say this is 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, right? So this could get out of hand. It could get going. But what we're really looking for now is the follow through and commitment. And the thing that we talked about earlier in the stream is, you know, if we're always trying to reduce risk, then what we're looking for, let me turn this stuff off too, is follow through and commitment. And if that's so, let's lock this up. And what we want to see is get this. Oh, this must be like, there we go. If this is a 3, right, which I don't think it is, you would then look for, and these get out of hand when you go from log to linear, don't they? It's just so vastly different. That's how I think a lot of people, they get kind of screwed on their charts because, let me get all this down here, I apologize. You chart a certain thing that you're expecting, and you don't get it because you're looking for a logarithmic target, right? And it kind of will screw you up. I did this backwards, but it's okay. This is 3 and 4 and 0. Gotta redo all this. I apologize, guys. So you could potentially put 2 over here and make this a very complicated correction. Maybe a WXY. Then you would look for 4 and 5. This is like the least bullish local scenario, right? And that would be a low from 2 to the high of 3 and a local wave 4 retracement that doesn't typically lose the 0.5, which looks good as a prior degree wave 4 also. So maybe you investigate that, if not hold slightly higher, then give a potential last degree of a wave 5 here. If that is to happen, we can measure from 0 to potential wave 3 to potential wave 4 lows and look for a wave 5 to around 0.618. So maybe locally you do see a pullback that really resets the RSI. A lot of times what you'll see in a wave 4 is that it will have a different structure than the wave 2. If the wave 2 is very sideways, the wave 4 actually might give you something deeper and scarier, right, to be the same time equivalent but a different structural build, which would change our overall wave 5 target and lessen it down, right? So that is something to kind of take into your mindset here, and that also lines up a little bit better with the fib set. So something to bear in mind would be that. All right, so that would be the least bullish scenario for it. More bullish would be the multi 1-2 stacking. If so, it will blow our target out, meaning it will come up and then chop and then come up, right? And we'll start to see those successive 3s and 4s stacking as it goes upwards. So, all right, so we got virtual covered. Man, it is fucking, we have done so many charts. What time is it? We've been going for nearly 2 hours, my dudes. All right, how many folks do we have in his house? 10 people still. I'll stick around for 10 people. We've been tearing it up, man. We got it going. All right, so let's keep going. Next chart is render. All right, I'm sure most people know I'm not a render person. I've came on here a million times and said I'm stuck in it because of some Coinbase bullshit, but I'm not bullish on it, right? I do think that I was pretty clear about it before we had the crash. What the fuck? Oh, they call it something else now, don't they? You have to type it in. There we go. So many charts. When something creates a new low like this, I'd really have no interest. Now, your only hope is that a 3-wave fashion is how the low is made, like you saw kind of here early on Chainlink, right? You could kind of even argue maybe like that's the 3-wave fashion that made the low. Now, what you're looking for is a V-shaped recovery, though, right? So until we get this, which is something we can track together, I would have no interest. I know that sounds bad, but I just don't think it's worth it. Let's check log on this really quickly. Fuck, dude. This is even a hideous way to say you end a wave 5. I guess then you would have to say wave 1 was in 3, wave 2 was in 3, wave 3 was in 3, wave 4 was in 3, wave 5 was in 3. It would have to be a diagonal that didn't have overlap. Excuse me, it would be here and here. So that could be something But then again, you know, you've got, this is just, I feel like it sets you up for the potential for this to really start pushing to the downside, meaning my biggest fear is if this is stacking ones and twos, you start to get some follow through and displacement to go down, to take out this liquidity. I've just never felt bullish on it. I did way back when we were saying, you know, oh, maybe this is 1 into 2 and 3, 4, 5. And at that point, you know, you were saying, oh, that's 3 down, 3 up, and 5 down. And we had a low here. We had something to work with. When we swept this fucking low, man, I lost my hope altogether, right? So even here, it greatly shifted because you had a 90% retracement, meaning this fucking thing that happened was kind of foreseen, right? So for me, it's a no touch right now until you start to see a recovery. And right now, this is not it. We're not seeing it yet, right? And Bitcoin's the king. Bitcoin's going to give the follow through. If Bitcoin does it, they'll all do it. Or certain ones will do it. They'll all react, but certain ones will react in a better way. So, all right, so SUI. Now, this is the thing to understand about this coin, in my opinion. All right, we're still on a weekly. I think that it only achieves a 3-wave motion up unless you're on logarithmic. Now, when you go to logarithmic, or excuse me, linear, you will see then that you could say, okay, well, this was a much bigger motion. But the problem here comes when you would have had to say this was a wave 4, and it causes overlap with the tops of wave 1, making that not true, right? Like it's not the most plausible scenario in Elliott wave. So on this chart, to stay kind of like biased towards what could be going on, I want to stay on the logarithmic chart and work from the bias that this was just a potential ABC towards the upside. Meaning we expect some sort of decent retracement after, right? And I don't think you've seen that, right? This is stopped at a 382. It would be rare for this to be it for a B wave. The other reason it would be rare is because if we measure from 0 to the high of the C in time, we can see that this low is in well before, excuse you, trading view, before the 382 in time. So on this, because of the SUI's possible 5-wave motion here, I'm hoping to be playing for a bounce in C. Now that gets ruined by losing this B wave low, right? So this is invalidation for kind of those spot holdings is $2. You lose $2, poof, the shit you bought was fucked. You're wrong. Move on, dude. Don't keep buying the dip because it could get really gnarly, right? B waves can get really gnarly. They can sweep the lows. This could go on all the way out until even June of 27. A really horrible, gnarly correction could go on. So these are the type of things where if you don't have invalidation because of prior structures, meaning this daily prior degree 5-wave motion that we're looking at here, here, look, 5 waves up. And I'm going with that as a potential A wave, and this as a potential B wave to the downside. That may not be over yet, right? So I'm open to this consolidating some here, and then we get going from like an awkward position, kind of like what we charted on Ethereum with the triangle here. You might see something similar here on SUI, but for now, right, you're battling in the middle of the range. Let's see if we can get over it. We can see this local. This is something that we were charting yesterday in the Discord. This pin bar build of the 4 hour off of the support of the midline of the channel built from low to high, and all of these centerline reactions after, it's really good, right? But the only way for this to be some sort of true continuation is to continue to get displacement and get out of this idiot box, this consolidation. Until then, this is bullshit. Patience might even be your best friend on something like this, right? Because you aren't getting this yet, right? It doesn't exist here. It doesn't exist here, right? And it's forced. You're like, okay, maybe it was here, dude. And then this was a correction. Oh, and then maybe it was here. Then maybe this, maybe there was, maybe. There's so many maybes in none of these clear situations. You're not mitigating risk properly. You're at the casino. So stay careful. Stay patient. Some of these, you might be able to say, hey, here's a reversal point. Here's where I'm looking for invalidations. This is what I'm looking for forwards. But so far, we've seen none of those on SUI, right? Now, the other analyst in the Discord, he's using a lot of indicators and back testing history saying, hey, he could see a potential 20% move up if certain supports hold. But that's all in the Discord. That's not my analysis to share. So, all right, let's keep moving. We have ICP next. I have not looked at this in a very long time. Nope. Nope. So what I think is, if you are lucky, right? If you, and this is a big fucking if, my friends. If this is A and somehow this is B and somehow this ever goes for C, I don't give a fuck. I would rather wait and sit on my hands and allow it to go like that before the big move, right? I would rather get some sort of reassurance, because right now with a new low and just fucking fighting under what was old support as resistance a little bit, I'm good. That's like jumping in a pool with cold water. It makes my balls suck up inside myself just looking at wanting to buy this. That's a big no thank you. All right, ENA looks like our next chart. Let's keep this party going. Do you have it, Coinbase? Yeah, you do. All right, Coinbase, what do you got? This looks semi-promising. I don't like this. That's fucking deep. If all you did was buy the golden pocket, boy, would you be a fucking winner today. All right, so you held golden pocket. You are reacting decent with this fib set. I'm really curious, should we just buff it up? Yeah, I'm on log. That's pretty decent. Sorry, I get a little quiet here. I'm just trying to, my eyes are trying to see which one is better. Fucking tomato, it doesn't matter. The problem comes with trying to say either this is a correction in a three-wave motion, and then you are saying this is 1-2 stacking, right? And you are saying that this was a first leg up and a correction, and you're looking for a partner leg. I'm not here to rule that off the table. It could very well happen. Let's put some time on this. So it's way past the 382. It's before the 2 in time. So it's like more likely a 2 than a B at that point. Now, is this the oldest history we got on this? Of course it got fucked up. I think if you could disregard the wick. Man, that'd be a shitty 3. A really shitty 3. Yeah, that's probably why. Maybe that's just a B wave. But that would mean that you made a consolidating. This makes no sense. And you'd have to say that's the low of a C, and that was our point of origin then. So then you have to stick with that Coinbase chart as your best. Oops, wrong fucking finger. Alright, here we go. So this is what you'd have to stick with. The problem is, so say you want to be a risky spot buyer, and you want to say this was a true reversal. Man, it's hideous. I want to say here instead of here, but regardless, what you're looking for is this guy to give you a partner leg, right? So if you're looking for another one of these to the upside, you're just trying to pick invalidation to make that $0.08, that 1-to-1 ratio, yes? But if this would be true 1-2 stacking, which is the only way you'd be able to do it, man, it's fucking so ugly. Or you have to say, that'd be the world's tightenest triangle you've ever seen. It would have to be a lot of 1-2 stacking, and I would have to say it either starts here or here. But again, you're saying, you know, 5 waves, 3 waves, 5 waves, 3 waves, 5 waves, 3 waves, 5 waves, 3 waves. So current invalidation for a move to the upside on Athena or ENA comes in around 0.4590. If that pivot is lost, you lose this kind of wedging, stacking 1-2. I'll be honest with you, I would rather side with that than something else, right? Especially since this is a 4-hour. And then I would rather see this kind of give displacement, and then the same thing, 3-4, 3-4, 3-4, and then a final 5th, right? So that you start to give this leg a partner leg here. And we would see divergences come in, volume and RSI, kind of volume shitting off, maybe even ends on high volume, to convince people to buy it, and then it would shit its thighs hard, right? All right, that's that. Let me go check. Is there any other? Oh, look at this. We have Cookie and Hype USDT for CACU. Sorry, dude, I almost forgot about that. Thank you. All right, let's do Hype on Bybit. We looked at this a long time ago. This motherfucker just dropped like a stone, dude. Bang, bang. You would have to have that same fucking speculative 1-2 stacking. That's the issue, man. When you have CACU, a wick like this with no real recovery, you have two choices. You have to say, okay, this was some sort of consolidating correction here in a really difficult to see triangle or something, and then I come into 1-2 stacking, and now I'm looking for 3-4, 3-4, and a 5, and then I need to see a big pullback that comes into this area of displacement for a purchase, right? And this is on an 8-hour, so you really have plenty of time to sit on your hands and even let this one kind of just go about its business for a little bit, you know? All right. And that's Hype. All right. The other thing you want me to look at was Cookie. Now, this is one that I cast to the shores while I was in profit. You can see when the idea went to shit. Let me go back here. When you measure something from low to high, and you're trying to say that's a valid 5-wave motion, the issue with it being an impulse is when the 786 is lost, right? Not only was the 786 lost, but you swept the point of origin. This has now become not a high frequency play. It's not something that you want to chase. If you continue to go down the road of buying this, this is like buying the dip that keeps dipping, right? It's just really not worth it. All right, so I'm going to move on from that one until we start to see more from it. DY Fitness asked about Pepe and Floki. Man, I hope you're still here. You asked most charts of anybody. I'm going to go to the Coinbase chart because everything else is going to look like shit. All right, so again, 3-wave motion, right? If you're lucky, somehow that's another 3-wave motion. But this ranging here makes it highly susceptible to want to sweep this low, right? It doesn't give you some sort of high probability play. Floki. Oh, I typed it wrong as Y. Floki USDT. Fuck off, man. Every chart has this, huh? I have no interest, right? So you had, what did you have? 3 ways up. ABC. It's over. All right, that's another one I would have to let go. I did cover link earlier on, so you'll have to go back. I will timestamp this so you have it all. And then you'll be able to get it off from later. Oh, excuse me. Big yawn. All right. Yeah, dude, I think Athena might have been one of the better altcoins that we possibly looked at. I think the rest, you know, they really didn't look that great, the majority of them. The majority looked like all they really achieved was a 3-wave motion up, so it makes sense that they put in a new low, right? It's just, you got to be cautious, right? You got to be cautious, especially if you think something. Let's go see how this fishing survived. Hasn't came down all the way yet, so that's okay. It is trying to hold fairly well, so let's see what happens. Anytime you kind of have a choppy low down like that, it's often that it, you know, these highs will try to get taken. So let's see what happens for now. I think the macro for Bitcoin is the real potential with these divergences, that a 5 is in. And whether that 5 is the start of something or end of something, we will know by how the ascent is made. Right? If the ascent is made in a nature that's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then it goes, whoo, right? This would fucking pump Bitcoin dominance. This would pump Bitcoin's price at the same time, which would either leave the alt sitting still or to slowly bleed, right? So the lower the shit coin you're buying on the kind of coin market cap winner's circle, from the top down, you're putting yourself at a higher risk to bleed harder against Bitcoin, and that is not the best place to put yourself in a risky scenario, right? That's where I look at Bitcoin, I look at Ethereum and be like, okay, maybe those are the first 2 places I start looking to invest, and the rest is fluff. After that, right? It's my maybes. So you're looking to give them even less of your investing power, okay? All right. Well, guys, it's been really hard out there. It hasn't been an easy place to be, but remember again, it's often darkest right before the dawn. So sometimes, when everybody's screaming, run, 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 be scared, it's the time to not be scared. But I will tell you again, the lower down the market cap pool you buy, the harder the cut will be if and when Bitcoin does follow through on a move down. So be aware, stay safe. As always, manage your risk. Thank you guys so much for coming to the live stream. I will go get this all time-stamped and everything. We do these every Monday while I'm not on holidays usually, around 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you guys ever need anything in between these live streams, as always, reach out. There's a Discord link in the chat, pinned to the top of the chat. It's also in my bio and found on my Twitter. Come on by, say hello. It'd be really fun to see you. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for coming today, and see you later.